Alright, I think we're back on the broadcast. Welcome to the stream, folks. Tuco is temporarily out of the room, but I think he'll be back in a sec. I found an increasingly awkward angle for the microphone, which seems to somehow avoid a bunch of this electromagnetic interference that I've been getting. So maybe there's less hum on the audio like this. It's weird, right? Like you'd think that with hum like that it would be ground loop. I think some of the problem might have been ground loop. I was definitely getting some interference which seemed to be ground loop related between some of the data going over the USB connections in here and the audio interface. But I think most of the humming was actually position dependent, where I'd move the microphone and the humming would change intensity. So I'm thinking it's actually electromagnetic in nature, which is interesting. Some of it might be the lights in here, but some of it might also just be like the power distribution. There's a lot of unbalanced wiring in this house. I don't know. Anyway, welcome back to the stream. Oh man, this machine, just for a little context, this is sort of a weird computer that I'm trying to get Linux to run reasonably on. Camera turn on, okay. This is just the guts of it right now. There's a whole enclosure that makes it look like more like the actual thing it is. In fact, maybe I should call up a picture of the actual device. That might be a useful visual aid for all of this. Anyway, it's a voting machine. Or was. I don't think they're made anymore. I mean, I'm hoping nobody uses them anymore. They're known to be a pretty bad design. But this one was used for at least a bunch of actual voting. Like it still had data from the 2008 presidential election on it when I got it. Anyway, I currently am just trying to get this to run as sort of a relatively normal, relatively modern Linux machine, despite the fact that it's a 486 with ISA and Visa Local Bus. I think most Linux low-level developers at this point basically only care about machines that have PCI buses for, understandable reasons. So this computer's been a bit of an oddity to get stuff to actually run on. So yeah, you can see the motherboard and LCD board for it kind of splayed out there. Not all of the actual hardware I have is on the desk. I've also got a printer and like a smart card reader type of thing. It's intended for these voting tokens that they would give voters. That's my mouse still acting up. So yeah, this photo on the right gives a better impression of what this thing actually looks like set up. It's also got these legs that you can attach to the bottom that cause it to be basically a little table, or you can sit it on top of an existing table. And then this whole thing folds up to be basically a normal looking suitcase. So I assume they designed this for like normal suitcase kind of shipping facilities, but I'm not really sure. It's pretty heavy, pretty rugged, although not really as rugged as you'd think it would be. It's a pretty good mix of metal and plastic components. Basically a metal frame with a big injection molded plastic shell over everything. And there's a seam between the top and the bottom halves here, And that seam comes apart without any special tools, just a hex key, basically. So that gives you access to all the electronics. There's some doors with tamper-evident seals on the back that have the memory card slots. This yellow thing in the front is the sort of public-facing voter ID card slot thing. It's not an ID card, it's basically a one-time token where you show up, they check you in, and you're given like a token that allows you to vote once, and then you take that token to the machine. And so it's just like a little kind of credit card shaped thing that seems to speak I2C. There are a couple of lead acid batteries in the bottom here to power it for, I guess, an entire day of voting if the power fails. But otherwise, it's like a 486 embedded system. It's got a pretty interesting mix of parts from sort of the mid-90s to the early 2000s. That's too good. Hey, Fuzzo. You're gonna steal my seat. I got it. It's pretty absurd that this is the hardware that they demanded our respect for, right? Like we're supposed to trust something like this to voting. All sorts of security claims that they wanted this thing to represent that the hardware did not embody at all. Anyway, now it's an interesting, weird old embedded system that I guess for a brief time you could find on the secondhand market. I checked recently and I didn't see any of these for sale. I don't know how often they come up these days. So yeah, I think the main takeaway from the last stream, from yesterday's stream on this, is that the interrupt situation for the PC cards is a bit more complicated than I expected. So we're trying to get the expansion cards working so that I can get this thing loaded up with more storage and with networking. And I'm in a position where that sometimes works, although it often doesn't. And so, I mean, I've been able to get both cards working simultaneously under certain circumstances. So I know there isn't some kind of intrinsic hardware problem that prevents both cards from having functional IRQs. So that's good. But on the downside, I don't really understand the circumstances that cause these things to work or not work right now. My best guess on the last stream was at this point where it seemed like there was some kind of chipset level interrupt configuration that was being accomplished as a side effect of sharing the interrupt with the serial port, and that just sharing the interrupt that the network card was using without actually delivering any interrupts on the kind of peer, like the serial port in this case, that was enough to actually cause the network card to get its interrupts in a timely manner. But without that, it seemed like maybe there was a failure in the interrupt acknowledgement, because I was seeing just like a small number of delivered interrupts, like 2 interrupts. So it's possible those were unrelated hardware or related to probing. It's possible one of them was probing and then the other one was the network interrupt, and then there was an ACK failure, so we didn't get any more network interrupts. I don't know. So I had a theory in my mind, but now, I mean, that theory is basically busted too, because I couldn't really reproduce all the problems that I was seeing on the last stream reliably. So I don't currently have a working theory for what's going on with the interrupts, and I keep being surprised by when things work and when things don't work on the system. So that's been a bit frustrating. I think the next step in the interrupt debugging is really to try to just take one example, like something we can reproduce reliably, which might just be whatever the system happens to be doing with the current build, and just debug that from an interrupt perspective. Just attach GDB to the kernel and try to understand like when these interrupts are getting delivered and when they aren't at a pretty granular level. It also sounds kind of tedious, and I might want to break from the interrupt level stuff, so we could also take a small diversion and try to get the touchscreen working, because I know that's something I think everybody would want to see is the touchscreen on this thing working again, especially after all the flakiness and the annoying like silver epoxy hack that we had to do to get the cable fixed. So, and that may involve a varying amount of complexity. Like there are potentially multiple problems there. There's this problem where the touchscreen controller seems to not always just give us serial data when the screen is mashed on, and that could entail finding a way to send a reset command to the touchscreen, or finding a way to get it to like override its stored parameters somehow. And all of that is documented, so it shouldn't be too annoying, but it might require, reading some documentation and sending some weird serial strings to some serial ports, and then connecting the kernel driver. I think the first place to start, though, in getting the touchscreen working is just to kind of understand what the serial I/O input subsystem in Linux is really trying to do. Like, I think I compiled in some kernel options that give us the ability to map a serial port to an input device, but I don't actually know if we have all the right pieces for that, and we might need to do a little bit of documentation and code perusal to understand that. I have some user space utility, which is what they recommended to attach serial devices to input devices, but it didn't really seem to be supporting this touchscreen. So I don't know whether I need like a different version of that utility, or whether maybe that documentation was outdated and all I need is sysfs or udev. Oh, let's have a moment of full screen cat here. Is my soup cold enough to drink? Oh, hello, hello. Let's have some soup and source code. X server just crashed. Gosh, I should try to get Keyboardio to sponsor this, given how many people ask about the keyboard. X server crashes, it means my recording stops. See, aren't you glad I'm not broadcasting from that instance of OBS? Because we would be disconnected. Instead, my recordings will just be chopped up into more pieces annoyingly. Oh yeah, I do kind of like the noises from the keyboard. I've gone through a lot of different keyboard preferences over the years. You know, I had my years of just being kind of a like IBM Model M snob. I had my years of like typing on nothing but basically like the thinnest laptop keyboards. And I don't know, I feel like I've had a lot of different opinions about keyboards over the years, and none of it has really mattered that much until I started having like hand pain where I needed to think about the positions of my hands, and so this keyboard helped out with that, although the sound is a nice side effect too. Yeah, I feel like the split keyboard helps with just general location of limbs, but I think also specifically for me, I had a bunch of just really atrocious keyboarding habits because I never really learned to keyboard properly. I just got interested in computers at a really young age and just got fast at typing really, really badly. And so I developed all these weird habits of like pressing things with um, like the edges of my fingers and like reaching in strange ways and like crossing over the middle of the keyboard. And so using a split keyboard, part of the adjustment was just curing myself of those habits to the extent that I could actually use a different layout. Somebody's saying the keyboard might help with typing. I don't think you understand. It makes you really bad at typing for a while, and then you eventually get almost as good at typing, or maybe about as good at typing, or maybe a little better. But like, it's not about being better for typing. It's about like regular keyboards basically killing your hands over a long period of time. Like I would just not be able to use a regular keyboard all day, basically. Like I can still use regular keyboards, just not for like really intense coding sessions at this point. Ooh, a 90s compact rubber dome keyboard connoisseur. Gosh. That was the kind of keyboard I learned to program on, and gosh, it was unpleasant. Tuco, you can graciously gift me with a seat. Yeah, I mean, I still use laptops, and you kind of, like, I don't want to get myself completely unable to use regular keyboards, so I still kind of use both. I also only have one of these split keyboards, and they're expensive. I could try to get a different type of split keyboard that's cheaper. Then I would also need to learn like multiple types of split keyboards, but maybe that would be good for my fingers to just adapt to different things like that. Tuco, do you want to leave? Gosh, I'm tangling up the video cable in this camera. Oh yeah, there's a comment from chat that adapting to a new keyboard, I assume, has made someone more accurate, but not necessarily faster. Yeah, I feel a bit like that too. I've never been an especially accurate typer, and so like I'm thankful that this keyboard has a fast backspace. Tuco, do you want some soup? No, don't stand on the motherboard. Hey. Oh, don't stand on the motherboard. Gosh. Honey. Ow, 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 ow. Yeah, okay. Let's do this. Okay. Tuco's got places to be. People to meet. Cats to hiss at. Oh, we can make this less big. Oh man, this is definitely an OBS bug. Ooh, weird. Maybe I won't resize it. Maybe I'll just move it. Fine. I'll just dash that over there awkwardly. The other thing about ergonomic keyboards is I'm also just really ambivalent about the entire field of computing right now, and it's like, do I want to get better at typing, or do I just want to type less? That's maybe a different thing. So touchscreen driver land. Oh gosh, talk about little fonts and giant fonts. Is there a documentation on this serial I/O subsystem? I didn't see documentation on this. It just seems like another kind of bus where the devices are sort of character device shaped. Are these, oh, protocols? Which one does Dynapro use? Dynapro OX3A. Seems like the user space tool should know about that. We might just need to recompile and or find a different version of the user space tool. But what's the deal with these Stereo devices? Do we actually have one? Yeah, let's just see if we can get to a terminal and poke around and see what we got. But maybe everything will be broken when we turn it on. Fixed focus. Gosh. I can fix that focus thing. So many clicks and such a laggy UI. Oh, do we have another trackball success story? Yeah, I've had much better luck with trackballs than mice too. Oh, 2 goes back. Okay, that's better. Okay, Tuco, come in. Tuco, it's dark. Come on. Yeah, sweetie. What is that noise for? What does that mean? Come in. Oh, you just want to steal my seat again. Yeah, of course you did. Tuco, where are you sitting? I just need somewhere to sit. I think we're sharing. Cool. Oh yeah. This might just work with like completely normal UDEV stuff now. So I think that my issue right now is that I have a driver, but not all the devices I want. Let me turn the lights back on so we can see Tuco. So yeah, this looks like it fits the normal kernel object UDEV flavored device model, and it could just be that they didn't update the user space tool because it's not necessary anymore. So I think once we can get a SerIO flavored device for the serial port, we'll be fine. But we'll need to look up how to do that. And I was hoping there'd be documentation for the SerIO framework, but instead I think we should just try to look for that driver that actually does the intermediation and figure out how to load it. But I'm going to turn on the light so we can see Tuco. Oh yeah, that's a good point. There's a comment that it'd be great to have a modern trackball, but Logitech stuff is, or it'd be great to have a trackball, but modern Logitech stuff is pretty bad and flimsy. Yeah, I agree. I have a couple of the Logitech trackballs here, but they are certainly not great. I wish there were better trackballs. These are regularly getting kind of gummy, and they're harder to clean than I would like, and they just generally I basically just want like an industrial quality wired trackball that has like laser mouse sensors in it, or mechanical sensors, or like magnetic sensors. Hey, Chirpo. Mm. Purring boy. Mm. I'll just have separate chairs for a minute. I don't know why I'm reaching up to reach the microphone when the microphone's adjustable. Oh, no, I want more soup. I thought I saw something in menu config that was relevant. actually know if SARIO is associated with the input subsystem or if it's its own thing. I guess it is input subsystem. Cool, that makes more sense. What is this called? Oh, is this just part of the input document? Maybe let's just go there. I was expecting there to be an actual document about these ports, but maybe it's just part of the input documentation. This is not helpful. I'm just chuckling at this admonition that the HID generic is one of the largest and most complex drivers of the whole suite. Yeah, that makes sense, right? It's not a driver so much as an adapter between an entire input protocol and an entire other input protocol. This doesn't mention the serial devices at all. Okay. I guess we get to just see where this symbol goes. Is that the name of a module? Serport? I guess Serport might be the name of the module. Yes, okay. Wondering if I have to tell this which serial ports to bind to, or if it just kind of harmlessly wraps all the serial ports. Doesn't seem to have any parameters. Oh, this is a TTY line discipline. Huh. I don't actually know how TTY line disciplines work, but that seems like a useful concept here. So the line discipline is called mouse, I guess. This might have been just a legacy way, or a way of transitioning from a legacy system that implemented just a serial mouse driver as a serial line discipline, which is an interesting hack, and just turn that into a general way of connecting serial, like basically gluing a TTY driver to an input driver. So it seems like you need a user space tool to do that. Can set TTY do that, maybe? Ooh, you can set line discipline from STTY. So I think that might be the deal. You use STTY to set the TTY mode to be an input device, and then we can use UDEV or sysfs to bind the input SAR.io device to the input DynaPro touchscreen driver. Does this know about line discipline names? Oh, it wants an integer. Okay, what's just the integer then? So the line discipline for this is n_mouse. Does that have a fixed value? 2. Okay. No. I guess that wasn't it. How do these work? Oh, this is how you attach the PPP driver. Or AX25. Or IRDA. Or HDLC. Oh man, all these great protocols. Or HCI. Gosh. Is there just a document on this? Line disciplines. Man, Linux kernel development is such a trip, right? Linux kernel developers always think they're made of hot shit, and then they write comments like, my code is so fragile that if you use the API slightly incorrectly, your computer will fall into a hellmouth. Like, really? That's your kind of macho. Do I know if this is actually how you set a line discipline? Does the line discipline only stay attached as long as the program that opened the TTY is running, maybe? Okay, let's maybe look at that input attach program and see if it actually does any of this. It might just need a new constant. Yeah, no, Linux kernel developers have often been pretty mean to people. Like, that's part of their reputation, right? Packages. Did I not have an input attach or something like that? Maybe not. There was a mention of it in the driver source code. Input attach. Linux console tools. Okay, I'm gonna at least get this building an image that at least has Linux console tools in it. I think we're gonna end up having to build our own version of it, but this will be better than nothing maybe. I'll just build that while I read some of the source code. SourceForge. Really? Are we actually downloading it from SourceForge? We are. Oh no. SourceForge. That's how you know a project is not being maintained. Ooh, this has a legacy joystick calibrator. And the force feedback stuff. Hmm. Input attach. This is almost the largest file in this package. Oh yeah, just like a 1200 line C file, no big deal. Oh, I'm just gonna have to do some pasta. Right? It's just an unmaintained project that needs this small modification. Yeah, it just needs one of these, probably. Does this mean that there is a newer version of this that the Dynapro driver maintainer at least had access to? Because presumably at some point the comment that that driver maintainer wrote was accurate. Is there just a more recent place to get this than SourceForge? I see we've got a couple of little repos where people have added the one thing that they needed to this, probably. Right? Like this is exactly the kind of thing that we're gonna need. I'm just kind of curious to look at how this does the line discipline stuff, though. Does this use, what's that, nmouse? Ooh, it does. Hello there, nmouse. It probably needs to just hold the port open. I think if you close the port, the line discipline doesn't have an effect. I don't think you can just keep it registered. Oh man, I should have brought more soup. It's really tempting just to copy this one file and make a basic build for that. But the path of least resistance probably is still actually to do the reasonable thing and use the Alpine build and just add a patch to that. All right. So I don't think we have any reason to have these two things be modular, so I might just have them included in the kernel too. Input. let's have this too. I think the raw Serio is going to be useful. I guess if we want to just send additional commands to the touchscreen controller, I think that might be the way to do it, like while it's in use. Okay, this will just be another of these where I copy the A-ports build and then modify it a little bit. Ooh, what branch was I on? Actually, I was trying to take them from the exact same version of Alpine for the Xorg related patches, but for stuff like this where I kind of want the newest one, and it also probably hasn't changed since like the early 2000s anyway, I don't think it matters. Tuco's got the good chair. Okay, Tuco. That's better. Oh, these are in alphabetical order. Ooh. I guess this is also responsible for setting up baud rates and stuff. should double check the serial data and maybe the capitalization of the name of the touchscreen. Huh. Are they not using the Dynapro brand name much here? It's only in the URL. That's interesting. Okay, here they use the Dynapro name and the P is lowercase. Okay, default is 2400. Type ID extra. C programs are bad, FYI. People shouldn't write any more of them. It's good to understand C, and like writing experimental C programs is a great way to understand C. I just mean that like we shouldn't write any more C code that anybody has to maintain. Like really. I say this as someone who really likes to write C code. We shouldn't be writing C code that anybody has to maintain. Maybe the types are specific to one of the Serio driver modes. Like if these were general purpose, I would expect them to have constants associated with them, but they're treating them as opaque numbers here. I'm just going to set those into 0 until I know what they're good for. That seems to be the default. But if we need to do anything weird in user mode, there seems to be facilities for a bunch of that. Oh, this is user space, right? Also feel like we should take out that IRQ reservation patch, since that's clearly not actually the solution. I think this automatically applies patches. I guess I've only got support for my custom repository in the large image, but that's kind of want that in the small image, right? I think I want to move the package setup to common so that it's available on the large and small disk images, but then just trim out user local package on the small image. Password can also go into the common image, right? Right, and then these can be in common also so that I have keyboard maps earlier. Okay. But keep UDEV down here because I don't actually have UDEV in the small image. Okay. now I can factor this part out that's common between the debug root and the common FS. Cool. Can I do all the A port builds simultaneously somehow easily? I could just run all the commands at the same time, or I could split these into different images. If I split these into different images, it might be a little bit annoying to combine them all. to need that window anyway. Okay, that might be better. There's a question in chat about whether I have any opinions of note about Rust. I don't know if I have any noteworthy opinions. I like Rust. It's not perfect, but of the many programming languages available today, Rust is quite possibly my favorite. Oh, right, there is actually a dependency between the driver and Xorg. Let's just not try to build the driver and Xorg in separate containers. There's no benefit to that. I miss Tuco. Somebody says screen in the chat. Yes, it's a computer screen. Hmm. Hmm. The directory definitely exists. Oh, video chips, not driver chips. Ooh. Maybe we move that. I forgot we didn't have the actual setup tool installed. Oh. Okay, that seems fine. Interesting. Tell APK to only use one repository. I feel like that seemed to work, but I mean that package name was also present in the main repository. Okay. Interesting. Oh, do I have to do a repository index? Okay, yeah, so I guess we copied an APK index from only one of those builds. We actually need to regenerate the index. Does this work better if I update the other repositories first? Oh, why is that untrusted? I think I need to include that key in the index. I mean, it definitely would have been faster just to build these all in one container at this point. Oh, well. It'd be nice to know how these work, though. There's a question in chat about whether the IRQ issue is fixed. Not really. I've been able to get it into a state where it's working, so I know it isn't just like a permanently broken or unimplemented piece of hardware, but it's still super flaky and I don't really understand the problem yet. I was kind of taking a break from the IRQ stuff to work on touchscreen stuff tonight, but then I ended up doing build system stuff as a result of touchscreen stuff, so here we are. Yeah, I'm just gonna skip the deeper dive on Alpine at the moment and maybe make this simpler. Yeah, and some of these build kit error messages are especially bad. Left to compile. So much compiling. It's nice that the whole X build was cached, though. I need more soup. I'm going to need to reflash the card to get a new kernel. Card. I'm surprised Tuco hasn't come back yet. There's a comment in the chat about typing programs. I find typing programs fun sometimes, but I feel like I've never really found it useful to just specifically try to get better at typing, because I do so much typing as a side effect of doing other things that I'm trying to do that I get plenty of practice at it. And so when I was trying to learn this keyboard, I didn't, it's not like I was going to have the patience to run typing practice programs. I was just trying to work on it and getting frustrated and trying to work. I think that's mostly how I got used to most things on the computer. I remember a couple of typing games, though, as a kid. I think my brother had a copy of Mario Typing or something like that. I remember playing that too. We had something at school. Is my glasses carrying case falling apart? I mean, it's not surprising, I guess. This is very old. Where are my glasses? All right. I should put on my glasses so I can see better. We did a big compile, and now it's doing a big copy. Oh, looks like we're getting rated over on Twitch. I'm still not totally sure what that means. I know somebody brings a bunch of new people and I say hello. I'm not really sure what the rest of the whole dynamic is. It looks like the people are here from someone else's channel, maybe after they finished a broadcast. I don't really understand Twitch, but I appreciate it sometimes. Anyway, I should maybe zoom to a slightly wider view, both to introduce what this is part of and because we're going to need it in just a second. There's the screen, there's the motherboard. Usually there's the cat, but he's been gone for a minute. Okay, I guess my guess about how Twitch raids work was sort of right. I'll have to figure out how to do that then so I can return the favor. I feel like I've generally been pretty averse to using like really platform specific features. Like I don't want to get too attached to any one platform at this point. Or preferably any at any point. What just happened with this? I wasn't really paying attention. Oh, I think our BIOS settings got messed up somehow. Enter setup harder. Jeez, what's so slow? Oh wait, no, that's correct. Huh. Is this just a bad flash? Oh, no. I'm just being all tired and absent-minded tonight here. I didn't actually put the card in the machine. You can see the empty slot right there on the computer. Doing real well tonight. Anyway, hecklers are great. I just might heckle your back. Yeah, it's nice to know how to use the UI for Twitch Raid, although I feel like the most complicated part for me is going to be actually like being connected with people that are online. Okay, so a lot of stuff is happening here. This machine is basically a normal 486 sort of, but it's sort of actually a weird mash up of kind of old and older components. So it's kind of a normal 486 in that it is a 486 compatible CPU, has a lot of the same PC like AT compatible hardware. It has serial ports and parallel ports. It even has a fairly normal graphics adapter, albeit attached to the VISA local bus. It has a relatively normal PCMCIA controller. Um, but it also just has some real oddities to it. Like it has some oddities in the way memory mapping is done for the PCMCIA slots, which we've already had to work around. Uh, it has a couple of custom watchdog timers, which I have some code in my grub script to disable. What else? It's got some custom peripherals like this text LCD, some buttons, a smart card slot, and some serial EEPROMs. Most of those seem to be fairly straightforward, but custom peripherals attached to the ISA bus. Okay, so now I think we've basically still got the same IRQ problem going on, or something related, but Ethernet isn't working. I think we might have all the serial I/O bits we need though. We have input attach. We have that Dynapro option now. I don't know if this is even the same problem or if I broke it in a slightly different way, because now it looks like both the PCMCIA cards are failing. So, I think this might be actually that I've been trying to compile things into the kernel, and I think when I compile in the PCMCIA drivers, something breaks. I don't know if that's because of a bug somewhere or because things are sensitive to the initialization timing. Anyway, we could choose to work on that or just like stay focused on the touchscreen for a second. So the touchscreen is a serial device on TTYS0. We should have a kernel driver for it now and maybe a tool to attach it. First, I just want to see if we get serial response from Minicom. Oh, I don't have Minicom on this disk image. Okay. Never mind. I'm just going to go for input attach. I don't think I can set this thing up super reliably with other tools right now. We have a Stereo device maybe. We didn't actually attach Dynapro? That's good so far. Oh, can I not get a list of these? Gosh, I'm just wondering if this is a driver binding problem that would be solved by having a more effective UDEV configuration. This might just be easier to debug if I did at least make the Dynapro driver into a module again. I'm pretty concerned about that probe failed with -12. Like that might be worth investigating pretty soon. I keep saying I want to shift these streams to an earlier schedule, and so I might shoot to make this stream not super long, and then actually try to start earlier tomorrow. Try not to actually schedule things in the afternoon. Well, I'm not quite sure what to do next, but I'm just going to poke at the kernel config while thinking about this for a sec. It would also be kind of a fun aside to put together a driver for that text LCD in the back. Linux does have a subsystem for text LCDs. I don't know that it has a driver that would be a totally great match for what we have, but we could certainly modify something. The actual thing that we have, I'm pretty sure, is just a literal Hitachi HD 44780, which is like the most common text LCD ever. I think they literally just attach that to the ISA bus. So there's an ISA IO port that maps directly to the data register on this thing, and there's an ISA IO port that maps to the command register. The firmware, the original firmware for this machine was even reading from the LCD to check its busy flag, which is something I've never seen an embedded system do, is read from a Hitachi text LCD. Normally you just put a delay in there and you time it right, because like you end up having to put loads of delays in these drivers anyway because the hardware is fairly slow, and you can pull for some of that, but I think that you still end up having some timed delays. So I think most people just don't bother and they do it all with timed delays. Okay. Let's see, block devices and network devices. The order that this list is in, by the way, is just totally weird. It's traditional, right? There's, like, you're basically just expected to memorize it if you use this a lot. It's not really alphabetical, and it's not really in any kind of sensible subsystem order. Like, it's sort of got like a bus category and like a device kind of thing category, but like, it doesn't make a ton of sense. Oh, I thought I made that not a module. Tuco's back. Tuco. Tuco. Kitty, you want my chair, of course. Of course, yes, loud boy. You're the boss. You're the king. Loud little lion. Okay, yeah, I guess I did keep those modular. Never mind. Yeah, I think what I was saying about the drivers breaking when I compile them in is true, but I guess I didn't actually change that. I guess they're breaking for a different reason. So I think, I'll double check in the diff, but I think the only change there is to make DynaPro a module again. Let's also put minicom in the small image. I don't like living without minicom. Yeah, I know I procrastinate these kinds of things a lot, but I should actually wrap up the stream after we test this image that's building now. I mean, I think the only real changes that will help right now are including Minicom without network, and maybe making Dynapro a module is going to help, although that's a bit of a desperate move. Where's my card reader? Such a cat. To go. Oh, Tuco's got some good purring. We need to hear that. to the grub zone. Same thing. I think my summary of this is I've got I think, understanding of how the touchscreen driver is supposed to work, which I didn't have at the beginning of the stream. And I think we have the pieces that we need to do that. I think there are just other things that are broken right now. The driver might be failing to attach just because of stuff that is broken because of not running UDEV. Currently I don't have UDEV in my small disk image because I wanted to start it after rooting into my real environment. But we might have to reconsider that. I could also just try to get the real network PC card based environment working. It does seem like the thing to actually focus on next is to dig into this particular error that's on the screen right at the bottom, that probe failed with error -12. That seems like something that definitely shouldn't be happening and that is relatively easy to isolate in a debugger, so we'd probably learn something important digging into that. I think Tuco's trying to leave again. You trying to leave, honey? Well, cool. I think we'll leave it there for today's stream and try to dig in deeper into the kernel debugging side of this particular failure tomorrow. Hopefully I'll actually get myself to set up for a stream earlier than super late. I think I have, I don't know, my schedule this whole week has been bad, so no guarantees, but I'll try to actually start earlier tomorrow. Anyway, thanks for stopping by, folks. I've been trying to stream every day on Diode Zone, on Twitch, and on YouTube. And a special thanks to everyone who contributes to the Patreon to keep the stream going. And yeah, I'll try to do more morning streams. Those were cool. I've got at least something I have to do in the afternoon, but either right after that or maybe in the morning we could do a stream. So yeah, I'll try to shift my schedule one thing at a time. All right, see you tomorrow, folks. Happy hacking. Did my X server just crash again? Thanks. I guess my recording stopped.